think we're live.
Well,
it looks like you are, Chuck.
We're live. Yes, I can see your pretty face, Justin. Hola, Battle Buddies. Come to you live primarily from Minnesota and one of our next door neighbors, South Dakota, where freedom shall forever reign, king and queen. You gotta be careful on the gender assumption stuff here nowadays. Thanks, Mr. Potato Head. Anyways, we will be discussing the union trades and I guess pathways in to the union or into the trades, not necessarily union, but the benefits of both an open shop versus union. We can talk about that. If you guys want to put some comments in tonight, cool, great. We got a subject matter expert, Justin Rost, who's Marine Corps fella, running the program here in Minnesota for the union trades guys. First of all, we're all Blue Falcons here. So click the invite button. Okay. Click the invite button. We also have a guy here from 3M. So if you aren't necessarily interested in the trades, but you want to get your foot in the door or have a discussion with a really awesome Marine Corps officer, we're outnumbered tonight, 3 Marine fellas, 2 Army humans, and obviously the Air Force guy over there with the beard. But we've got Travis on here. He always puts his contact info in. And here's a disappointing thing is he's never had someone from Battle Buddies reach out to him. And he's at one of these iconic places that everybody always talks about transitioning into. So use and abuse Travis if you're looking to get into 3M just as a labor kind of person, or if you're looking for some sort of executive management type of role, he can probably give you a good background on the company and help you get your foot in the door. So I'll let him introduce himself first. Travis, wait, we go ladies first. Sorry. Sarah, mind giving everybody a brief intro on yourself?
Sure. Hi, Sarah Farstead, 11 years Army, 4 active duty, 1 Iraq tour, the rest in the reserves. And now I'm an operations manager at Worth Electronics in South Dakota.
Sorry, I got my mute button on. Travis.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Travis Dolan. I'm a project engineer at 3M. I did 6.5 years active duty in the Marine Corps, and I continue to serve as a reservist. I actually just recently got back from an Afghanistan tour on the tail end of that. So 3M's a great company. They're also a yellow ribbon company. They're very veteran friendly. They have veteran recruiters. So if that's something you're interested in, regardless of whether it's, type of factory floor labor or project management or anything in between, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll have my information in the chat this evening.
Mr. Johnson, I use Mr. cautiously.
Zach Johnson, Marine Corps veteran, Iraq, Afghanistan, combat wounded. I am an employment specialist for the Minnesota Assistance Council for Veterans, MACV. Anybody's looking for help with resume stuff, employment, seek me out on LinkedIn, please. Thanks for having me.
And hey, Zach, I want to plug your guys' organization just a little bit. So in Minnesota, we get a lot of people that are looking for help. If you can't get a hold of your VSO in a timely manner, reach out to this guy, Zach. He will make the connection. He is the hardest working kind of government person that I've ever come across. And he does give a shit about veterans. There's no doubt about it. So
Thank you.
Zach will be tagged in here later. So hit him up. Pete, want to intro yourself?
Hey, your old pal, Pete LaValle, your resume resource for the group. I am a certified professional resume writer along with an interview coach. 23 years Air Force, thank you very much. And did some time over in the sandbox, but I wanted to get paid what I was worth, so I went as a contractor.
All right. Last but not least, our final Marine of the evening, Mr. Justin Ross. Were you a combat engineer too, or are you 03 fella?
No, I was 0311. I had a real job.
That's what I thought. I thought so.
Yeah. Yeah, so my name's Justin Ross. I'm the director of the Minnesota Helmets to Hard Hats program, but I am linked with the National Helmets to Hard Hats program. Marine infantry veteran, 99 to 03. So I was in for 9/11, but we did not deploy. So I did not get to go to the sandbox.
Justin left Hawaii before I got there.
Sounds like a great place. So Justin, let's kind of dig straight into what you guys do as far as the helmets to hard or the hard hats, helmets to hard hats program. I'll throw the link to your guys' national organization over in the chat here in a minute. But if you want to give kind of a brief overview as to the features and why somebody should go and at least open up an account to start a conversation.
Right. So the National Helmets to Hard Hats program covers all 50 states. And what we do is we try and help you understand the pathway into a construction trade apprenticeship program. That's our biggest thing, is trying to work you into an apprenticeship program, because they really are the gold standard of training when it comes to getting into the trades, learning a trade, and being able to basically have a pathway into the middle class through construction work. So that's our main goal, is to try and help people get into the trades by way of, my screen just popped up something weird. Hang on. Okay, now we're good. So what we try and do is we try and help you understand what the trades are, what trade might interest you. We do not try and influence your decisions. We just give you information and we allow you to decide what trade is best for you. Once you know what trade you want to work with, we go here in Minnesota, geographically, I will give you the apprenticeship program that you're interested in that's closest to you. So if you're in Duluth, Minnesota, you will get Duluth's information. You're in Twin Cities, you'll get Twin Cities information. If you're in Fargo, Moorhead area, that's what you'll get. And we'll try and give you regional specific information on who you need to contact, what you're going to need to do, what you need to be aware of, and what the timing looks like for when you're getting in, as far as what the likelihood of finding a job immediately is. And that's just something that you can only do with boots on the ground and somebody communicating with those areas.
Perfect. Okay, so why, in your opinion, do you think that the union or the trades, whatever, let's just stick with trades, not necessarily union, but in your opinion, why do you think union is, or trades are a good fit for the average veteran getting out?
I could speak personally for myself. Okay, so I 0311 infantry. I got out and I did what everyone does. I realized that the skills that I had learned as an infantryman were not necessarily easily transferable into the civilian world. So I did what everyone else says you're supposed to do, and I went to college. I went into real estate. I didn't like that, moved on to something else, and I just kept bouncing around basically from job to job. It was never really a career choice. It was just a job. After about 5-6 years, I got into a non-union construction company. I worked with them, and when I got to kind of the height of what I could make with them, I realized that the people that were union members who were in that construction company made way more than I did and worked the same kind of work I did. So I decided to go back in and look again at maybe finding another job. And I found my way into the sheet metal workers local 10 here in Minnesota. I worked my way from pre-apprentice all the way up to journeyman level, and worked in the field for years before I took this job. So I know what the pathway looks like from beginning to end. And I know that for me personally, when I got into the trades, it was like I found a home, right? It was like being back in service a little bit. The guys rib each other quite a bit out on the job site. They talk trash. It just kind of had that same kind of feel and mentality that I had missed since I had gotten out. And it was just a perfect fit for me. But not only that, the apprenticeship program was very structured. It was very organized. And I should explain the apprenticeship program here pretty quick. But for right now, it was just really organized. There was a beginning, I knew what I had to do, and there was an end date, and you just have to work your way through it. And then you turn out as a journeyman and you make about double what you do when you come in as an apprentice.
So another thing that at least I enjoyed when I was on active duty was healthcare, for example, right?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of these transition jobs that we hear from with these guys is they'll get out, they get a little lost, and they'll just take whatever the hell comes their way at first, right? Oh, I'm sorry, Travis, did you want to throw something in here? I see you clicked a button on the Zoom call here. I'm going to take that as a no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I did actually have a quick question for Justin, and I asked because of my own active duty experience and what I saw some of my guys doing. Justin, do you ever deal with vets that have MAP program experience, if that's what they still call it, where it's essentially you get hours towards an apprenticeship or a journeyman certification in the trades through what you did on active duty?
Yeah, it depends on the level of education that you had and the expertise level that you have. Sometimes you can test out depending on the trade and depending on what we're talking about. I've had electricians come in and they had extensive knowledge. They were, I think the last guy I worked with that was a Navy vet that had extensive electrical experience on ship. He basically walked into a job on the trades. He tested right through the Minnesota State requirements and went in. But that's going to be a case by case basis, and it's going to be brought up with that trade. It's not something that I can promise anybody when they come in.
Sure. Yeah, I was just thinking that might be another good reason for people to look at the trades coming off active duty, because depending on what trade they want to do, it sounds like they might actually have a head start in it already.
Well, I do want to add that I think anybody who served in the military, and I'm sure you guys have heard this a million times in different ways while on this program, you are starting with a leg up. I mean, you've got a lot of things in your corner that the average civilian doesn't have right now. Most notably, that attention to detail. I like to talk about like your first foot locker or wall locker inspection. You learned really quickly to put everything where it goes and watch what other people were doing and do it right. The
You mean
leadership
the one where all
skills.
your shit's on the floor?
That's right. After the DI tornado comes through and you have to clean everything up, you learn really quickly that when they show you how to do something, that's exactly how you should mimic it and do it. And I found that was a huge value to me while I was going through my apprenticeship. I could watch somebody do something, take it in and do the exact same thing. And that was me learning the right way to do it. So, between that, the ability to get your ass out of bed and be on time to work, which seems to be a very difficult task for the latest generations of civilian. Those two things alone are a good enough reason for most of the employers I work with anyway, to give you a good look, just right out of the gate.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin.
Yep.
All right. So we see this all the time. I'm in a dead end job. This thing sucks. I don't have any benefits. I'm working at the gas station down the street, right? And we need security at night, especially in my neighborhood. I'm afraid I'm going to get shot. I need to get out. I want benefits for my kids, my seventh wife, or whatever it happens to be, all that, right? So the trades, right? This is something that's common. Do you mind kind of jumping into what those things can look like as far as a career goes?
So the first thing to understand is that the trades are very expansive in what they do. When you're talking about construction, you're talking about vertical construction, and you're talking about like horizontal construction, lateral construction, which is highway heavy and things like that. So you could be building roads, you could be building bridges, you could be running high power lines, running cable. All of this is considered construction. The area that I usually focus on, though, are highway heavy and vertical construction trades. So in that, you're talking about, like 16 different trades, I think, nationally known. So you have the sheet metal workers, which I was a member of, the elevator constructors, the carpenters, the insulators, the electricians, and I'll probably repeat a few of these: pipe fitters, laborers, boiler makers. Let's see who else. There's the finishing trades, which are a makeup of glazers, who are the window installers. They also do painters, are part of that group, mudders and tapers, different things like that. And that's probably not even all the big ones. Plus you got the plumbers, the pipe fitters, if I already mentioned them. So
Elevators.
the elevator constructors is another big one. And of course, the heavy equipment operators, I don't want to forget about them. So there's a lot of the sprinkler fitters is another one. So there's a lot of different options. And then inside of each of those trades, there are other options. As a sheet metal worker, for anybody who doesn't know what a sheet metal worker does, a lot of it is the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, duct work. That's a major part of what we do in sheet metal. However, there is also residential, commercial, and industrial, where in commercial, you're going to be doing the big duct work for buildings, right? In residential, you're going to be doing furnaces and you're going to be running duct work in houses. And then in industrial, that might be something like making the stainless steel cabinets, making stainless steel counters and stuff in hospitals, or it may be out in doing grease fans and grease hoods for restaurants, things like that. And then you've got architectural sheet metal, which is what I did. And architectural sheet metal is basically metal and paneling that goes on the outsides of buildings, roofing, and things like that. So if anyone's ever seen, I mean, we're in Minnesota, so I'm going to talk about Minnesota, but if anyone's ever seen the Minnesota VA, the Minneapolis VA's walkway that they built that goes from the parking ramp to the building, that was done by a lot of different trades, but the metal and the paneling that's on the outside, the stuff you're looking at, was done by sheet metal workers. The Capitol building downtown has copper domes on it and copper roofing all the way across the top of the Capitol. That was all done by the company I worked for at the time, and we did all that copper forming and put all that on. So inside of a trade, there can be a lot of different jobs to go to. It's not as simple as you're a roofer, you're going to put on shingles. That's most of the time false. When it comes to the roofers, they have a lot of different options. You might do hot tar, or you might do rubber roofing, PVC roofing. And then they also do green roofs where they build it up and then they fill it with dirt and they plant grass and stuff on it. So there's a lot of different options and a lot of technical knowledge that you get from each trade so that you can do any job inside of that trade.
Okay, so benefits typical of the trades humans.
Listen up, everybody.
When it comes to the union trades, most of the time you're talking about a significant wage. You're talking about, medical, dental, health benefits, life insurance benefits, possibly vacation and holiday pay, but it's all contracted. That's where the union word comes in, right? You are a contracted worker working with a group that helps make clear your benefits and protect your benefits and wage against companies who may not want you to have that wage or don't want to pay you that wage, right? Everything's contracted. So the contractors who work with the unions are agreeing to giving you the negotiated wage and benefits that you are supposed to receive. So in the sheet metal workers in Minneapolis, as a commercial sheet metal worker, the apprenticeship starts at 60% of journeyman wage, right? It's a 5-year program. You'll work your way for 5 years. You'll go to school during the normal school year, 1 day every other week, and you'll do some night classes in between. And you'll do that for 5 years. And you're going to pay $500 every year to go to school. In comparison with most of the technical colleges, that's a pretty low number, right? Now, on top of that,
1 second. Hey, Johnson, how much was done, Woody, when you're going annually? 25 a year?
All total 4-year degree was $86,000.
Okay, so $500 isn't so bad. All right, keep going. Sorry, Josh.
So $500 a year. But the nice thing is there is also a credit union attached to your union, right? So you can go to the credit union. They will give you a 0% interest loan for $500, and they charge you a $50 filing fee. So it costs you $50 to borrow $500 for that entire year of schooling to be paid for right out of the gate. You go to class when you're supposed to go to class. You don't miss any time in class because your hours in class are how you move up in rank, right? You also need to accomplish work hours out on the job site. So it's an earn as you learn program. You're working 5 days a week, 1 week, 4 days the next week. You go to school 1 day, And then that rinse, rinse, repeat kind of a deal there. You just keep doing that through your normal school year. With the electricians, I think here in Minnesota, I believe they're $500 a year also, and they go to school one day every week during the entire year. So you would work for 4 days a week and you go to school one day a week. So like I said, it's an earn as you learn program and it's low cost. With me, I went through 5 years of training as a sheet metal worker. And when I turned out as a journeyman, they gave me all my money back. They gave me a $2,500 check because the membership of the union paid for my schooling. As long as I completed it, I got the money back. So not
Nice.
only was it low cost, but it was actually free for me once I finished. And it's, that's how it's supposed to work.
And you made money during this process?
Yeah. Yeah. We made
You
money.
weren't
during
a
that
poor
process.
college kid sitting in your mom's basement in your underwear eating ramen.
Nope. I started as a pre-apprentice. I started in the middle teens. So right around 15, $16 an hour. I believe that's right up around 17, 18 now. As a first year apprentice, I believe right now the pay is right around $21, $22 an hour to start. So once you get into the apprenticeship, which could be right away, or it depends on when the schooling is going to start on when you become an apprentice. But as an apprentice, you make about $20 an hour to start. And then intermittently throughout the process, you go up by 10% every jump, right? So you start at 60, you go to 70, you go to 80, you go to 90, you stay at 90 until you turn out as a journeyman. I believe it goes to 95 with some of them. They'll keep you there until you turn out as a journeyman, and then you get the full gig. Now, the other part to talk about is the benefits, and part of that is retirement package, right? So after I turned out as a journeyman, I was making around $42 an hour as the hourly wage. Now, that's just what's going on your check hourly. What you're also receiving is $3 an hour vacation pay, which adds up to around $300 at the end of the month when it's all said and done if you're working 40-hour weeks. Holiday pay, which is paid, they hold on to that until about Black Friday. Then they release it to you, and that ends up being around $800 that goes in your pocket for Christmas, which is really nice. And I have 80/20 medical dental, and I was fully vested in my retirement 5 years into the program. So when I turned out as a journeyman, I was fully vested in a retirement right out of the gate. And that retirement has a supplemental retirement also. So my national pension, between my three pensions that I'm paying into as a journeyman, it's about $21 an hour. Well, I believe it's $20 an hour right now that goes into retirement. So I make around $43 an hour, plus I have $20 an hour going into retirement, plus I have 80/20 medical dental insurance and life insurance coverage through the union. And that's just for the sheet metal workers.
So let me get this right. Do they kick you off the job site at 40 hours when you're busy?
No. And also part of our contracted wage is anything over 40 hours. And it can vary depending on where you are. All of this can vary. I mean, the wage can vary, the benefits can vary. I'm just talking specifically about my situation here in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities Metro. So you would make your 40 hours a week would be paid at your normal wage. Okay. Anything over 40 is going to be time and a half. Anything over 48 for us in a 5-day period becomes double time. So if you choose to work 12-hour days, you're going to get paid. Anything over 10 hours a day is double time. Anything over 8 hours a day. I'm sorry, it gets confusing here when you try and explain it, but 40 hours a week, straight pay. 40 to 48 hours on the 5th day of the week is time and a half. Anything over 48 hours in a 5-day period becomes double time. Saturday is time and a half. Sunday is automatic double time.
Man.
Got that?
So
it is possible to work more than 60 hours a week and receive a really, really, really large paycheck.
All right. So let's put another thing in perspective. So I'm going to do a little time. I know a little bit about your personal life in the regards, you have a military age child, right?
Mhm.
So you were able to go through this journey and support your family. And what's that charger? Is that one of those Scat Pack ones? Is that what you got?
Yeah.
So you got a Scat Pack charger too on top of it, right?
Yeah.
But-
Yeah. The material possessions are something that if you like toys, you can afford toys. It's one of the
Right.
nice benefits of it.
So you're able, my point though, is that you're able to take care of your kid. You got another one remaining in the home yet. You can afford some pretty cool shit, but you already got one into the military.
Mhm.
Maybe the next one does too, right? But vacations, I mean, you've been able to live a really good middle income lifestyle, right?
Yeah, this really
As
is a
doing what you
pathway
do.
into this is a pathway into the middle class. It's there's a lot of people out there who, oh, hey, starting pay should be this or should be that. But in the trades, I mean, it is $20 an hour roughly. The average construction worker here in Minnesota makes at least $35 an hour. And it's no matter where you go, that's a good wage. But when you pick certain trades or you work in those trades for a little while longer, then you start making more money. And I get paid as a sheet metal worker, a journeyman level sheet metal worker. Now there is still room for improvement there. I could become a foreman and get foreman pay and get a truck and everything else from a lot of these companies, where now you're not only making that awesome wage, you might get, I think foreman pay is $2 higher than my current wage. And then on top of it, if I got a company truck, I'm not putting miles and wear and tear on my vehicle throughout the entire week. It makes a big difference. And there's a lot of other parts to these too that people should be aware of. For anyone who loves welding, almost every single trade learns how to weld. It's just something that you're probably going to have to do in your trade at some point in time. So almost every trade learns how to weld. They all take safety as the number one concern. So you receive OSHA 30 training at the very minimum for almost every trade. You're going to probably receive training in plans and specs and blueprint reading and things like that, so that you have a basic understanding of that stuff. If you have any kind of mechanical tools that need to be used, you're going to get education on that. Any hand tools, you're going to get an education on that. I learned how to use every single piece of equipment in a machine, like a sheet metal fabricating shop. I also learned how to use a computer to do CAD, computer animated design, and learned how to draw blueprints myself. So you get much more than just, hey, put a screw here, hey, bend this there. You get an education in things that is very, very complete. It's not just how do you do this particular job, it's how do you do every job in your trade. And then they can turn you loose and you can get a job inside of that union, no matter what you're doing, and understand how it works. At least have a basic understanding so that you can thrive in that job. So the nice thing is they're not just spinning you around in a circle with a blindfold on, taking it off and saying, okay, get out there and give it your best. You're well-trained in your career choice before you turn out as a journeyman. And most of the time that requires some kind of certification from the state with some of these trades too. So you're proving to the state that they educated you in the right way.
Okay, so it's this simple, right? You go online, sign up for a helmetstohardhats.org, user ID, and then you start the following day at any shop you want under the sun, anywhere on the planet, right?
No.
Oh,
But
really?
it's a nice try. It's a great plug. If that was how it works, I'd really like it.
You're welcome.
Dude.
We've done this before.
Right. But we do have a very high success rate at helping people who want to do these things. The things you need to understand before you ever get into a job in the trades, though, is that it is and can be completely reliant on the amount of work, the weather, and your ability, right? They don't just let you in most of the time. A lot of the times it feels like you're jumping through a lot of hoops to get through the first process of getting into a trade, but there's a reason for it, right? It's kind of like boot camp. They play all the games to kind of get you in line with what they want and to make sure that this is what you're willing to do, right? They're promising you a great wage, they're promising you great benefits, and they're promising you a good career and a pathway to the middle class. You got to stick it out and you got to do what's asked of you and you got to work. That's one of the big things. Now, signing up for Helmets to Hard Hats, I should explain. Helmets to Hard Hats is a free organization. It's a not-for-profit organization. So it's completely free. We'll never ask you for any money. We'll never ask you for anything other than information. So you go on to helmetstohardhats.org, you create a profile. Even if you don't know how to use a computer, it takes you 15 minutes. Once you create that profile, a regional manager is who's going to be your point of contact, unless you're in a specific state like Alaska, Minnesota, Michigan, New Jersey, or New York. Those states each have individual state programs that work directly with the veterans in their state. Here in Minnesota, if you're signing up for Helmets to Hard Hats, you are going to receive an email from, well, you're going to get to choose, like on the website, when you do your profile, you're going to do a little bio. You're going to tell us when you got out, how many years you were in, things like that, branch of service. And then we're going to receive that information, and it's going to also include your choices of which trades you like. Now, if you're not sure, click on all of them. I'm going to send you information saying, hey, what do you need to know from me? You can ask me questions about the trades. You can ask me specific questions about specific trades, and I will get that information if I don't already have it. Then I'm going to give you the information you need. I'm going to give you practice tests. If I know they have an exam to get into a trade, I'm going to give you information so you can practice for that test. I'm going to try and give you the most up-to-date information on any jobs that I'm aware of. And I'm going to give you the information here in Minnesota. They love this. I give the training director's name and phone number on almost every one of the trades so that you can call and directly talk to the person who's responsible for letting you get into a trade. And then you just got to work with that. Okay. Some trades require you to get a job before you can get in, and that can be a little tricky if you have no experience. But I'm not promising jobs. I'm just trying to do my best to get your best foot forward and try and get you through the door so that you can explain why you'd be a good employee to them.
Yeah, we've had good luck working with you guys. I mean, we've also had the most unlikely of people sign up and get their foot in the door and really enjoy what they do. So, I mean,
Yeah, we've had people that signed up and we went, I hope I can help them. And then they went to a full wage right out of the gate, didn't even have to go through the apprenticeship. They had experience doing things and they walked right into a full paying journeyman career and been doing well as far as I knew.
Yeah.
I'll say for the guys and girls who were always on job sites that I was on, it's like being in the military again. It really is, like Justin said, from the camaraderie side of things, the BSing with each other out and the shit talking. It's there. It's fun. It keeps the job site light and fun. And then at the same time, it's kind of like your military day was, where you kind of knew I'm getting up at this time, I'm PTing, I'm doing this, I'm at the shop, whatever you're doing, same thing. You've got 7 a.m. until 9:15 you're working, 9:15's coffee, and it's like your day is really kind of broken up in such a way where it's like, all right, just got to make it to first coffee, 15-minute break, back at it, half-hour lunch, back at it, maybe another 15 at the end of the day, and you're out of there by 3:15.
I didn't hear you say lean against the shovel for 2 hours one time, Zach.
I didn't do that. I was the brains of the operation.
Okay.
That's the last time he'll refer to himself as the brains of anything.
Yeah.
Well, unless we talk about Roger Rupp, right?
Never gonna be the smartest man in the room ever.
I should say though that my experience in the trades was I had a great time. A lot of people like to think of trades as seasonal, and some jobs are. Some jobs, the roofers in particular, when the snow falls, the roofing jobs stop, and that's just kind of part of the gig, right? But a lot of those people, the interesting part is they make enough money during the summer that when they are sitting on unemployment during the winter, they're usually doing it from their brand new ice castle on one of our lakes. They do well through the winter by taking the winter off and going back to work in spring. Now, the other part of all of this is, you can get laid off and you could end up going to another company. I found that if you work hard, oftentimes the company will keep you around. I worked for the very same company from the first day on the job till the day I took this job, and never had a day off due to lack of work, and never got sent home during lean times when we were laying people off. I think that work ethic has a lot to do with it. You're not looking for a job where you can lean on a shovel. If you are, maybe the trades aren't the place for you. They are looking to hire people who are going to secure the future for the trade also. So they're doing what's best for the union and for the apprenticeship. And that means weeding out the people who don't really want to work or who have a poor attitude. The very meaning of apprenticeship that started back in Babylon, ancient Babylon is where apprenticeship really got started. And the idea behind it is to take a professional who knows the job better than anyone and teach it to an upcoming generation so that you can learn how to do it as well as they did and make improvements and then pass your knowledge on to the person that's coming up after you. And that's how apprenticeship is supposed to work. And that's what the unions try and do to make sure that it's successful. So you got to have that work ethic. You got to want to show up and work. You got to want to play along with the rules, and you got to be courteous and not be a shitty employee. That's the biggest thing. If you show up, you got a bad attitude, they're going to bounce you because they know what they've got. They've got a great job with great benefits, and they're going to give it to somebody who's willing to work.
Yeah. Sense of belonging is a big thing. The camaraderie, like Zach pointed out, huge thing. I mean, it's really interesting when we've done these battle buddies in place pre-COVID. That was one of the big things. The feedback always was, wow, this feels like home to me, even though we were in a little pizza place here in St. Paul and Minneapolis. I mean, so you know what else is really good for camaraderie? Hockey.
There we go.
Yeah, so I figure I better plug it. So if you guys want to, we've got warrior programs throughout the country. So if you want to join, just send me a message. We work with United Hero League in south of Minneapolis here to get gear for you. We can get you in the program if you qualify. So I'm helping out on the recruiting piece for this year. So, but that sense of belonging to a team is a huge, huge thing for vets. Most people don't understand what missing that feels like because they've never served. So
I've had people, business agents from different unions, and their job is to go around and talk to other people who are in non-union jobs and ask them, hey, why don't you want to work for this wage? Or what could we do to help you move into this wage? And they came to me one time and said, hey, this one company, they've hired a bunch of vets and we'd really like you to talk to them. And the first thing I asked is, I said, how did they treat them? I said, well, really, really well, but they're not making the wage they could. I said, you're never going to get them.
No,
I said, as long as that company pays well or pays them or treats them well, I should say, vets are fiercely loyal to a company who they think has their back. And that's an important part of it too, that I've made sure that at least in Minnesota that I convey to the different trades and the companies in them that you want retention from veterans, you better treat them well. If the first time you shit all over them and you walk away, they're already looking for another job, or at least the loyalty won't be there. But if you treat a veteran well, most of the time they'll treat your company well. And we've had great success with that with the companies that we work with and the different organizations that are part of the unions. Most of them covet vets as employees and really treat them well.
All right. I think we're good. Anybody have any questions for him? We didn't get any in the chat. I noticed a few other trades guys, Steve Major. We don't need to hear about your HVAC stuff. But if anybody, does anybody else here tonight have any questions or some stuff that we should probably point out would be a reason to look into the trades? If anybody's on the fence.
Justin, you want to talk about what might possibly be coming down the pipeline for the state of Minnesota?
State of Minnesota is looking all right again this year. And usually the trades try and do at least a 2-year workup of what they're expecting, and every year you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, like, oh, this is going to be a slow year. But so far that's not the case. Duluth is going to be insanely busy again. St. Paul, Minneapolis have a lot of work down here. And I just got off the phone with a few representatives out in the Fargo-Moorhead area, and they were actually talking about how they're worried they're not going to be able to find enough people. So we're going to be ramping up our efforts over there too. But there's work all over the country. The last I heard, California has a ton of work, and they're going to be doing a lot. New York is looking busier than ever. So there's, things can change at the drop of a hat with you know, what happens in the world, but for right
Well,
now, it looks,
Justin,
the outlook's good.
I heard this, there's a $3 trillion spending bill coming out on top of the one that just came out, and a significant parts infrastructure, meaning fellas like yourself are going to be super busy. So
Yep.
this should be promising to anybody that wants to get into it, and anybody that knows about supply and demand. I mean, if there isn't a supply of labor, guess what? Prices go up. So, you know, these dirty blue collar guys are going to be making more than most people with MBAs like myself.
And now's the
Probably
time.
already do.
Now's the time. Going into spring here, with the weather turning and it's getting warmer and stuff, now's the time to get into this, because the training centers are in full swing right now, but they're going to need to hire new employees for this summer, you know, to replace the folks that retired or aren't coming back from being laid off, things like that. New projects means they need more people. Now is the time. Get on there, sign up. Let's get you started, because some of the processes can take a while. Process to get in as an electrician or elevator constructor or a pipe fitter could take you it could take up to a year, depending on what time of the year you go and sign up. So let's get you moving right now and see if we can't get you working by the spring.
Hey, Justin, question for you.
Sure.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, with all this potential business boom, New York, California, Minnesota, what are the options if somebody wants to relocate, or is there flexibility to go, you know, your home state's Minnesota, but New York is just screaming for help, you know, are there
Mhm.
options to relocate to support high demand areas, or how does that work for relocation and support?
Yeah, it requires you to transfer most of the time, right? And it means that you go to whatever area you're working in, that's going to be the wage you're going to make, whatever's in that area, right? So if you're in Minnesota and you want to relocate to Montana, or you want to relocate to New York or whatever, and you're talking about moving, that's a transfer. So you get in touch with that local, you talk to that local. If you're qualified here in the state of Minnesota and you're, you know, a journeyman worker, if they have any space for you, chances are they are going to help you. Now, there is also the ability that when we get overwhelmed with work in certain areas, like in Minneapolis, prior to the Super Bowl, we had so much work that we didn't have enough people to fill all the spots. And we had people coming in from all over the country to help out. So they came here, they got paid the wage we get here. And a lot of them did come from places like Idaho and Wyoming and different unions like that, where the wage is a little bit lower because they just don't have as good a contract as we do. And they would come here and make our wage and send that money home. And it was like being deployed, right? They were getting that deployment money. So they would come here, they would work. And then when the job was done, they'd either go home or they'd move on to another job until the work was caught up. We did have a couple of people that decided they wanted to stay, and they transferred and moved their families out here. So there's always an option to look at. It's not always going to work out because it depends on a lot of environmental factors, but it's out there.
Okay. Anyone else? Doesn't look like it. Justin, thanks for joining us tonight. These trades shows that we do usually do really well. So you guys reach out to Justin. If you're in Minnesota here, I got him tagged on here. And I put the Hard Hat website up. So hit it at the national level, and 24, 48 hours, I'll probably get contacted right in there.
If you're in Minnesota, you will be. The regional managers, I believe, they're a little bit more booked than I am here in the state. You'll hear from me in 24 hours, but from them, you can jump on the national job board and be able to look for a job and look for information on your trade that you're interested in.
Get these guys from leaning on the shovel. Give them something to do. Get info from them. So I don't know. I think we're done, right? Let's end this. Let's end this so awkward. We're like, what the hell was that?